Hi, it's Dr. Lori. Are you ready for your questions, my answers? You can put your questions anywhere. You can put them right here in the comments. They might end up on a video, a future video, or Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere, social media. Of course, I'll answer them as I can. So let's get started. Oh, I want to tell you about the bowl. Forgot about the bowl. Every time we choose a new bowl, a different bowl, not a new one. They're all old bowls. And this particular one was designed in 1929. It wasn't made in 1929, but designed in 1929. It's a Lalique bowl. It's called the Nemours bowl. And this particular bowl has, of course, based on the poppy seed design. And you can see, of course, all the hand enameled little dots throughout. Value on this bowl, you ready for it? $1,750. It's a nice one. It's crystal, of course. All right, let's start with some questions. Hi, Dr. Lori. I have about 15 pieces of art that I inherited from my parents. They're mostly paintings from the 50s and 60s. I'm thinking of selling them online. I have no clue what they might be worth. What do you recommend? What do I recommend? How hard is this? How hard is this? I recommend you need an appraisal first. Don't let it go until you know what it's worth, right? I'm glad that you didn't bring in, somebody to just clean everything out and just going to sell everything, like this. So be careful. It reminds me of the time that a guy was paid $250 and he was told you can take anything you want, clean out the house. Not his fault. He comes to me, and when I say not his fault, he comes to me because he wants me to identify these paintings that he got in that clean out, that he was paid to clean out the house, right? Somebody's got to clean out the house. The paintings there are 4 paintings that he brings to me, and all 4 of them worth $32,000, okay? So he gets paid and he gets the paintings. You've got to know what you've got. You don't think anything's valuable just because it's yours. It can be in your basement. It might be in your attic. It might be one of those 15 paintings of your mother's from the 50s or 60s. So please, just because it's yours doesn't mean it's not valuable. So what do you do first? You need an appraisal, right? You want to sell these particular pieces online. You need to know what you have. That appraisal will help you sell it typically. So what you need to know is okay, a picture of it, you can send it to me. And the other thing that I want you to remember to do is try to protect it before you sell it, right? So hang them on a wall. Paintings should be hung on the wall. It's the best thing for them. And if you're going to sell online, then you have to investigate how you're going to sell it online. See which places are the best places to sell online. You might think, oh, it's really a good idea to sell my pottery on this particular website. Maybe that website isn't as good for selling these 1950s or post-war American paintings. So you want to think about that too. All right. Okay, next question. Lots of stuff out there. Hi, Dr. Lori. I have a Bohemian crystal candy dish. My mother broke the lid. How do I find a replacement? Okay, now I know you're mad and you're like, oh, she broke the lid and I had this candy dish and I loved it and it was glass and Bohemian. It's got the top and now it's broken. It's not easy to find a needle in a haystack. This is not an easy question to answer, but I do have some tips for you, some ways that you can actually do this. First thing you want to do is, you want to look for Bohemian glass candy dishes, trying to search online when you're Googling, right? Or Yahooing or whatever, Bing, whatever search engine you like. Start there. So you're trying to find this. Also try to search by type, right? What type of crystal do you have, right? Try to search by pattern. If you know the pattern name, that will make it more helpful. But again, a lot of people out there don't know the pattern name, so they can't put up the pattern name. So even if you do know the pattern name, they didn't know the pattern name when they posted their thing, so you never match up with your keywords and your buzzwords kind of thing. Okay, so that's the other thing that you've got to think about. Try to utilize, of course, images when you're searching or you're Googling. Go to Google and go to image or go to video. Try to find it that way. Try to find it by type, try to find it by date. If you know how old your piece is, that will narrow it down too. Anything that will narrow it down will help you to identify it and to find it. But it isn't easy. It isn't easy to find these things. People think, oh, there's just some one database. It goes back to this idea of what was called in art history the Catalogue Raisonné. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. But what they would do is they would want art historians, when I was in graduate school, they'd want us to create these books that were every single work of art by an artist. I did a Catalogue Raisonné as part of my dissertation as well. I documented all of the drawings of a particular artist. It's a lot of work, and it's manual labor is basically what it is. You got to comb through everything to find every single one. Comb through exhibition catalogs, comb through information and files of the archives of American art or European artists, this kind of thing. It takes a long time. So most people don't do that anymore. Now we look at Pinterest, and now we look at all these other places to try to find a match. If you're trying to find a match, it will not be that easy, but don't only look under Bohemian Crystal candy dishes. Try to look by pattern, try to look by type, try to look by date, and maybe you might find it. It is not going to be easy, I won't lie to you. Okay, what's next? It would be good if we had like an antique salvage junk sort of place. You know how you kind of go for parts for cars and stuff, and you go to the junkyard, you say, I need a carburetor for a 1942 Buick. Well, if you could have that for antiques, might be not a bad idea. Okay, that's my next life. I'll do that next. Okay, hi, Dr. Lori. I found, in quotes, you searching online for someone who might be able to help me. Well, look, you found me. I'll be able to help you. We shipped some items to a family member, and one of them was damaged in shipping. Oh, dun 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 dun. The shipping company needs an approximate value for the item in order for us to file a claim. How can you help? Would you be willing to help? Well, this is interesting because there are a couple things that you have to think about with this. I've had a lot of people who have this happen. Oh, I shipped it and I was careful and I insured it. That's the first question. Did you insure it? It sounds like you did. Sounds like you want to file a claim. But now that it's broken, now you want the appraised value before it's broken and now that it's broken. This is the problem. So ethical appraisers can't really do that to show you, in fact, one and the other. You should have done the appraisal in the beginning before it went out. Oh, but I didn't need to do that, and I didn't think I needed that. You need that. You need that document beforehand because the people, the insurance company, are not usually going to accept an appraisal that's dated after the fact, right? Now, and it's insurance fraud if an appraiser were to date it after the fact, right? Now it's broken, now you want an appraisal, and you want an appraisal of what it was beforehand. This is why insurance companies, homeowners insurance, fine art and antiques assurance, whatever it is, they want to make sure that you have current appraisals on your valuables. This is an important point. The other thing that you want to do is you want to make sure, and it's inexpensive to get, an appraisal for this particular purpose before you actually ship it. It's very inexpensive. Send me a photo and you go from there. The other thing that you want to think about is knowing where you are actually getting these appraisals. There are people who will say, oh, Dr. Lori, I wanted to get an appraisal from you, but I got it from this other service. A lot of these people are using keywords or using Dr. Lori as a keyword, right? And you're going to them for an appraisal, and you might be getting these people who are like, a pool of people who are appraisers, right? A pool of these particular people who are appraisers, and basically, you don't know their credentials, you don't know their background, you don't know their ethics, you don't know what kind of report you're going to get, you don't know anything. But it says, get an appraisal from Dr. Lori, because what they're doing is they're actually using your search term, the Dr. Lori search term, and they're having you click on someone. That's not me. If it's not drloriv.com, it's not me, period. That's it. So be careful where you click when you're trying to get your online appraisals. And the other thing that you want to do with respect to this is get the appraisal first before. If you're going to insure something for a couple $100, it needs an appraisal before it goes out. So remember, if you're going to insure something for a couple of $100 and you're going to ship it off to somebody, before it gets shipped, it needs an appraisal. Think about it this way. If you know that you're going to lose a certain amount of money and you'd be upset by losing that object or losing that amount of money, you need an appraisal. That's the kind of thing that needs to be appraised. It's inexpensive and you can get it right from me at drloriv.com. So basically, doing it beforehand and after is really a no-no. So what you have to do now is, if you showed me that object, it would be broken. I'd have to appraise it as its value broken. Then you have to say, okay, well, if we had another one, what's that one worth? And then you have to have comparable sales records to identify the appraised value. All right. So not great news, but that's the way it is. What's next? Oh, this is a long one. Okay, you ready? Hi, Dr. Lori. My sister left her diamond engagement ring to be sized, and they replaced her beautiful solitaire diamond with an inclusion-filled cloudy diamond. My best friend left her beautiful garnet ring with the same jeweler. It was a cherished birthday gift from her father. When she picked it up, the garnet had been replaced with a smaller, darker, cloudy. Well, you know where this is going. Basically, they're saying that this jeweler is replacing stones when these objects are being left at the jeweler for replacement. All right. Some 50 years after this particular incident, my friend still feels bad. Both jewelers, of course, denied that this happened. What do we do? What can I do to prevent this? Well, what do you think you can do to prevent this? What do you think you can do to prevent this? It's very simple. When it comes to a precious metal, a gemstone, there are traits, characteristics of that piece that would be identified if you had a professional appraisal. That professional appraisal is going to be done, of course, in a lab, and it's going to indicate these particular inclusions, quality elements, carat weight, color, clarity, whatever it might be for that particular gemstone. It's not that that gemstone can't be recognized, right? That gemstone has its own traits. Just like, if you saw me on the street and you saw somebody who looks like me, my sister or something, you'd be able to know the characteristics are different, okay? So, same type of thing. These particular things are why appraisals are important and why identification is important. It's not just, it's a value. I don't need a value. You need the correct identification. What's a shame about this is that these people loved these objects and feel bad about this, right? You left them with someone that you trust. You have to be trustworthy of some of these, of course, of these jewelers. Many of them are completely trustworthy. Many of them, right? It's the odd few that you might, of course, encounter. But yes, I have heard this story where, of course, a piece is actually taken out. I remember, way back when they were doing those number shows. You remember those number shows? 48 hours, 60 minutes, 2020. You remember those shows on TV. Those particular shows would have this expose about, I lost my diamond engagement ring because I left it with a jeweler. It's not an uncommon story, but you can protect yourself if you get an appraisal on those objects. And if you had a wonderful, beautiful, fantastic solitaire diamond ring, it should have been appraised with a specific GIA certified appraisal as well. So the next time for that instance of those two people, you have to have an appraisal so you can bring the appraisal to a jeweler and say, here's the stone I've got, here's the appraisal I've got, is this stone this appraisal? Does it match? That's what you got to find out. An honest jeweler will tell you. What's next? And then people will say, oh, wait a minute, Dr. Lori, do I have to pay for that? Of course you have to pay for that. Why wouldn't you have to pay for that? This is valuable information, because if in fact that did happen to you and you lost that piece and they took that piece, you need some kind of information, some kind of supporting evidence to make your claim. Next question, here we go. This is from an online appraisal, someone who got an online appraisal from me, from our service, and is writing back. She says, thank you for the online appraisal, but I feel that Dr. Lori hadn't looked at my photos. I don't think she looked at my antique, and I don't think that she actually created this appraisal or prepared this appraisal. Thank you. Okay, people. There's no one else here. Look around. There's no one else here doing appraisals. There's no one else here looking at your photos. And I know you're thinking, how does she do this all the time? Here's how I do this all the time. I'm not married. I have no kids. I don't bake. I have no hobbies. This is all I do. And I do it all the time, and I love it, and I keep doing it. So you say, oh, she couldn't possibly. She could possibly. I have possibly since 1998. And I've been doing this field since 1989. So don't tell me I can't possibly. Any object that you send in, any photo that you send in, these two big brown eyes that some people say are black. I have one friend who always says my eyes are black, but they're very dark brown. These two eyes are the eyes that are looking at your photographs, are preparing your appraisals, are doing the research me. Because I don't think it's right that there are these other people who are just handing it down to inexperienced underlings or other people who don't have my background. If you're paying for my background, I want you to get it. I look at everything. I don't miss anything. I just had a person on my priority service say, I can't believe that you know what's going on. Put something on the YouTube channel and then was making a comment about how quick I am on my priority responses. And basically said, I can't believe that you knew that from the YouTube channel and now you do that. I do know. I'm tuned in because I love it and I'm trying to help you. So basically with this particular question, yes, it was me. Yes, I prepared the piece. If you have a question, I'll be happy to outline and explain to you how I reached my analysis. I want you to understand how I reach my analysis. The more times you understand this, the more you learn from me, the more you're going to succeed, the more you're going to sell higher. What about the woman who just wrote to me and said, Dr. Lori, you know what? I've been using your service and I made an extra $4,000 just using your service, just extra money for me. You taught me so much and I knew how to apply it, and that's what I did. I want you all to succeed and be empowered. Anyway, so yes, if you have questions about anything, ask the question, but it was me. I looked at the photo, I made the analysis, I made the determination that your piece was great and it was worth this, or it was not so great and it was worth that. All right, next, let's see. What else have we got? Hi, Dr. Lori. I have a COA for a print. Do you know what a COA is? A COA is a certificate of authenticity, a COA. I have a COA for a print. Should I send that to you along with photographs when you review my piece for an online appraisal? You can send me anything you want. I'll look at anything, but I don't care about a COA. I never care about it. Oh my gosh, what do you mean you don't care about it? Here's the thing about certificates of authenticity. They're only as good as the paper that they're written on. And oftentimes, if you look at the certificate of authenticity that you might have, you're going to see a name signed on a line. Who is that person? Is that just the person who's selling it to you? Is the person who's selling it to you really going to tell you that they're selling you a piece of junk? No, they're going to sign their name. You don't know if it's what kind of background they have. You don't know how they're related to the piece. You don't know if they're a dealer. You don't know if they're an auctioneer. You don't know if they're just, none of those things. You have no idea what they are. So I don't go by only certificates of authenticity, right? Because you would expect that if they're selling you something that it's going to be authentic, right? I like my father bought this piece from Jackson Pollock in his Long Island studio and took a picture with Lee Krasner and the painting and Jackson Pollock, when he bought it. That's a certificate of authenticity better than these pieces of paper that say COA on them. So, I'm not a big fan of this. The reason why is that they're easily forged. They're not the most authentic, identifiable types of things. So, usually, I would say it's fine to keep the certificate of authenticity, but most of the time an expert's going to go right to the object. And I've said this for years. Go right to the object. I look at the foundation of the piece. I look at things like stretchers. I look at things like color. I look at things like brush stroke. I look at what might be wrong. I search for what's unusual or oddball. When I'm looking at a landscape painting from the 1800s, the 19th century, and I see something signed in a Sharpie magic marker, I'm thinking, okay, something went wrong here. Something smells fishy in Denmark, right? So I want you to think about that kind of thing. I look for the consistencies and the inconsistencies, doesn't make sense what's wrong, right? So you're thinking about those types of things. COAs, not the holy grail, if you will. Let's see. They're always upside down. Do you notice that? They're like always upside down. Here's a question about forums. Okay, well, forums and groups, and you have these online sort of people who are all interested in the same topic. I've tried to list items on forums and on social media groups, and they keep denying me. They're saying that my objects are not actually priced correctly. What am I doing wrong? You're probably doing nothing wrong. You're probably doing nothing wrong. And I say that because a lot of these people in forums may not have the same agenda that you have. So you're trying to price it on a forum and you're saying, I say my Beanie Baby is worth this, or I say my piece of pottery is worth that, the Van Briggle forum or the Beanie Baby forum or the, gold jewelry forum or whatever the heck it is. And they're saying, no, you're wrong. Think about what their agenda might be. Their agenda might be they don't really know much about their topic. So it might be that they just think it's worth less or think it's worth more, so they're telling you, oh no, you can't post it. I want to know, why are they the head of the forum and you're not? How come they know more? What do they know more, and how could they prove that they know more about this field or this topic than you do? That's always my question. It goes back to my mother who would say, how did you know? And really, that's a good way to think about it. I mean, it's not particularly warming of my heart when I hear those words, but I gotta say, it did teach me to question things, to kind of say, okay, maybe this is something I need to think about first. That particular person who's saying, no, you're wrong, it's priced too high, maybe that person wants to buy it from you for a lower price. Maybe that's the agenda. Or maybe they want to just discredit you because you have good pieces. Or maybe they want to discredit you because they have a similar piece that they want to post and you got to it first. Who knows what their process is? Who knows what they're up against? You know, some people just do it for sport. There's a lot of these stories. I mean, there's so many of these stories where folks are doing this. They're discrediting something, or they're saying, oh, this person's not right, or that appraisal's not right, or you have to be wrong. The people who do that a lot are people who are trying to compete with people. People do it to me. They say, oh, you're wrong. Oh, those values are so high. I don't go to her for appraisals because those values are so high. You know, and then they go off and they're totally selling things way too low on eBay when they're worth a lot more. But they're supposed to be expert eBay sellers when they don't know what they're talking about. You really need to think about agendas. If you're confident in that particular price and you're posting it there and it's not going anywhere, you're not posting it in the right place. Forget the forums then. In that instance, get what you can glean from the forum, get the information you want, and then post it somewhere else. Don't only post it in one place. You know, post it on multiple sites. Think about different venues. Maybe this will sell better in an estate sale environment. Maybe it'll sell better at a yard sale. Maybe it'll sell better in an online auction only that's geared to those particular types of pieces. Certain auction houses that are selling online will focus only on certain types of objects, right? The Hummel collectors kind of thing. So don't think that the forums are the only place you can go. Think about other places. Think about establishing your own Etsy store, or your own Ruby Lane booth, or that kind of thing. Think about it. It's a good idea. What's next? Do you ever run into items that are misprints? Not just with coins or with jewelry or with glassware? And are they worth more money than others? Okay, well, here's a couple of things. There are a lot of things that are misprints, knockoffs. The knockoff that I always think about is the Hummel figurines knockoff. There are knockoffs that really look like Hummel figurines that were made in Japan. And there are knockoffs that were made by a company named Napco that really look like little Hummel figurines. Another company that made figurines was called the Anarco Company. They didn't really look like Hummel figurines per se, but they were still in that same order because Hummels were so popular. So yes, I have seen actually that idea. Let me remind myself of this question. That's not the one. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, I can't find the question now. That's terrible. Oh yeah. Have you ever run into items that are misprints or knockoffs? Okay, so here's the thing about misprints. This was the point that I wanted to make. The misprints, in fact, sometimes you say, oh, they're worth more. Like if you had a coin, like the 1913 coin, right, and then it's kind of off-center, or if a stamp is printed and the stamp is printed, and instead of it being like, you know, Wilbur Wright's airplane, the airplane's upside down because the print made a mistake and then they got into circulation anyway, that kind of stuff. Some of those are valuable because of rarity. Let's talk a little bit about rarity. Rarity is important, sure. People think, oh, it's rare, it's rare, it's rare. But if there's not enough interest in the market or not enough opportunities for a piece to actually trade in the market, then rarity doesn't really come up to it. And you mean, well, what do you mean it doesn't come up to it? Well, if you don't know anything about that 1913 coin that is misstruck, right, that has been struck incorrectly, and you don't know that whole story, then you don't know that it's rare. So it's not rare to you. Good example is sort of the Beanie Baby element that talks a lot about errors. I see a lot of Beanie Babies. I mean a lot, not just hundreds of them. I see thousands and thousands of them. And in fact, errors are very common. So all these people who are out there saying, ooh, you have a special error or a special error, the 2 I's in original is not a special error. The label over the word surface that doesn't have the letter R on it is not a very special error when you're talking about Beanie Babies. But other people will argue and say, oh no, that's a very rare error. Not when you've seen as many as I've seen. So you have to see a lot of objects in order to know where rarity comes in. But for example, if you've appraised, as I have, George Washington's wallet, the only one that he was carrying when he crossed the Delaware, that's rarity, and rarity is going to drive that market. Or, you know, a land deed that was signed by Benjamin Franklin that I appraised, that's pretty rare to have Benjamin Franklin's signature on a land deed in the latter part of the 1700s. Or the writing desk that Thomas Jefferson used that was in Poplar Forest, which is his summer home in Virginia. That's a rarity too. There's only one of those, which I appraised. So basically what you're looking at is that's where rarity drives that market up. A misprint or something that's a mistake can be unusual and odd, and people do collect oddities. People do collect oddities. So, you want to think about that. But that's different from rarity. When it comes to rarity, you want to think of something really rare, quite one of a kind, and then versus something that's an oddity, which is completely different. So, a lot of good questions this session. Thanks so much for sending in the questions and for asking them on social media. I'll answer yours too. Don't be shy. Write them right here in the comments. We'll keep them together and maybe they'll be featured on an upcoming episode. I'm Dr. Lori, as always, here to help you. Thanks for watching.